It wasn't subtle, it wasn't practical, and it definitely wasn't quiet. It was the pickup truck with the heart of an old-school big block bruiser. At a glance, it looked just like almost any other period Silverado, but lurking underneath that black grille was 454 cubic inches of unapologetic American excess. There was no special bodywork and no flared arches, just a single cab, short bed truck packing a motor borrowed from GM's heavy-duty fleet. It didn't make sense on paper, a performance truck in an era still recovering from the fuel crises and horsepower droughts of the late 70s and 80s. But that's exactly what made it so interesting. When Chevrolet introduced the 454 SS in 1990, it wasn't answering a question that anyone was really asking. There was no market research suggesting people wanted muscle cars disguised as pickup trucks. It was the beginning of a seemingly random 90s gamble on the muscle truck market. And this is the truck that truly started it all, the Silverado 454 SS. In the late 1980s, GM's engineers were thinking about how to juice up their truck lineup. There were lots of radical ideas flowing, and some of those would evolve into later machines like the GMC Cyclone and Typhoon. But before those high-tech missiles arrived, Chevy looked to the tried-and-true formula of the muscle car era: big displacement, rear-wheel drive, and big torque as the first foray into a muscle truck. Still, outside eyes may have helped speed things up. In 1989, 1 year before the 454 SS came out, Dodge did something interesting. They handed Carroll Shelby a stack of D-Series Dodge Dakota pickup trucks and let him have his way with them. He ditched the standard V6 in favor of a 318 cubic inch V8 backed with a 4-speed automatic and hooked up a set of 390 gears in the rear. This wasn't a tire-frying monster with just 170 horsepower on tap. The Shelby Dakota was more of a mini muscle truck, but it still got people talking. It wasn't a direct threat and the development timelines did not overlap, but the Shelby Dakota did likely light a fire under the butts of those at GM to finish what they were cooking up with the 454 SS even faster. And the second that the 454 SS burst onto the scene, it would spell major trouble for any future for that Shelby Dakota. And if you're having any troubles with your car that you just can't diagnose, then today's sponsor, Carly, is going to be the answer for you. Carly is a portable OBD2 reader and app combination that allows you to easily identify, diagnose, and even clear potential error lights on the dash in your car. And with their built-in smart mechanic feature, they can even help explain what the problem is and what certain remedies for it might be, so you can proceed with confidence. And spoiler alert, on this car here behind me, Carly actually picked up a problem with the vehicle that wasn't showing up in any error codes or lights on the dash. All you gotta do is take the little Carly handheld device here and plug it into the OBD2 port on your car, which on my Mustang is all the way down here under the dash. Once you put this in, you'll see the lights come on there, and that means you're good to go. Now the next step we're gonna go do is start the car and then pair it to our phone. Okay, so now I'm opening up the Carly app on my phone right here. I have my car already put in as the vehicle on the app, but as you'll see, there's a connect button here. Plug the OBD2 scanner into the port, which we already did. Now we have to turn the vehicle's engine on and make sure that Bluetooth is connected. So we're gonna turn the car on now. Now that the car is on, we're gonna go ahead and hit the connect button right here. And now Carly's gonna start scanning this vehicle to tell me what's going on with it. Once we've hit connect, I now have a few options I can go ahead and do: diagnostics, use car check, and other features as well. In this case, I'm gonna go ahead and use a diagnostic feature right here, and it's gonna go ahead and scan the vehicle. Now I've already scanned this particular car before, as you can see here, and I have an error code. The actual error code on my vehicle is a 500-101 code for HSA valve fault 1. And with this app, I can actually use the smart mechanic feature right here, click this,
and I can go ahead and get a full-on breakdown of what exactly is going on with the vehicle. It tells me exactly what the problem could be and how to solve it. And this little pocket-sized device has a host of other features beyond just regular diagnostics that you can use. You can do a used car vehicle check to kind of see how the previous owner treated your car and how it was ran. You can also see other attributes like live engine data, and you can even code it and unlock special features on certain makes and models. And Carly is adding more smart mechanic write-ups for all types of makes and models any given time. So rest assured, there will be more information out there for different error codes as time goes on. So you will have the ability to get direct recommendations for most vehicles. Now, there is a free version of the phone app that anybody can use, and there is also the paid version of the app, which I demonstrated here, that has a host of other extra features that I think are super worth it for you if you care about keeping your car running in peak condition and having that peace of mind. Carly is the diagnostic tool that everybody should be using for their car. And right now you can get up to 15% off your Carly order by clicking the link in the description below and using the code on screen here. So grab yours today, and thank you to Carly for sponsoring this video.
The venerable 350 cubic inch V8 was always available in the Chevy half-ton trucks at this time, but it lacked the oomph that Chevy felt was needed to make a real splash in the press. So they reached into that parts bin like I mentioned and pulled out their 454 cubic inch big block, which is 7.4 liters for you Europeans, and they dropped that into their smallest truck configuration. And just like that, the Silverado 454 SS was born. The first production trucks hit dealerships in November of '89 as 1990 models, and it was the largest engine ever factory installed in a half-ton pickup. And Chevy did not hide that fact. Brochures, TV spots, magazine ads, they all shouted that same message. This here was not your average Silverado. As far as specs, the 454 SS made 230 horsepower at 3,600 RPM and a stump-pulling 385 foot-pounds of torque at just 1,600 RPM. According to MotorWeek, it launched from 0 to 60 in 7.7 seconds and finished the quarter mile at 15.9 seconds, doing 87 miles per hour. Numbers that put these trucks only a second behind in the quarter mile from the top dog IROC Camaros of the same year, with over 1,000 pounds of extra heft. Power was sent to the rear wheels through a 3-speed automatic, which was a stout transmission, but with no overdrive gear. Being a 3-speed, high-speed cruising wasn't exactly the forte for a low-revving 454 big block truck, especially with a limited slip diff with 373 rear gears on them. It helped with the off-the-line launch, but again limited the top end. Still though, Chevy didn't just throw the 454 in the Silverado and do nothing else. They actually wanted to make sure it could handle a little bit better and handle the extra weight from that big block up front. So they installed stiffer springs, a 32mm front anti-roll bar, Bilstein shocks at all 4 corners, and they changed the steering ratio to a 12.7:1 quick ratio, which made the SS more responsive than any half-ton truck had a right to be. Now, it certainly did not turn anything like a Camaro, but for 1990, it was surprisingly composed. In 1991, Chevy doubled down. Power output increased to 255 horsepower and 405 foot-pounds of torque, thanks to a high-flow dual exhaust and a remapped engine tune. The rear axle ratio was also changed from 373s to 410s now, which helped it get off the line even harder. And that glosses over the fact that 400 foot-pounds of torque in 1991 in a production car was pretty wild. But more importantly, for this year, Chevy swapped out the 3-speed automatic for a 4-speed automatic, which allowed for them to use that 410 and not sacrifice too much top end because you now had an extra gear. So the SS, even with the 410s, was finally more relaxed and more applicable for highway driving. It wasn't a landslide better, but it was marginally better. On the outside, the 91 and 1990 454 SS trucks came exclusively in onyx black with red 454 SS badging on the bedsides and the tailgate to give it a subdued identity. while a blacked out front grille and low profile fog lights tucked into the air dam nicely in the front, completing its sinister yet subtle look. With the suspension changes, it sat lower than your standard C1500 pickup as well, because at the end of the day, this was a street truck and not a work truck, especially being rear-wheel drive only. Interestingly enough though, for all the added performance of the early 454 SS models, the interior did bring a surprising level of comfort. The 90 and 91 trucks came with a richly appointed garnet red cloth interior, featuring adjustable high-back bucket seats with integrated headrests, a center console, and a tilt-adjustable wheel. Now, this wasn't a Cadillac, but for a performance truck in 1990, it was pretty well equipped. And having owned a Silverado as well from 1992, I can say that these cloth seats are so unbelievably comfortable, it's not even funny. In 1992, Chevy gave the 454 SS a small facelift. Summit White and Victory Red were now added to the exterior paint lineup, and the interior color options were expanded to include blue, gray, and tan, some of which are actually really rare today to find. But so is the 454 SS, because that truck's initial momentum it hit the market with in 1990 did not carry on through the rest of the production years. 1990 was an explosive year for the 454 SS, with 14,000 units being sold. However, production dropped significantly. In 91, 92, and 93, only a few thousand trucks left the factory total, making the overall production run from 90 to 93 just about 17,000 trucks. And part of the issue for this steep sales drop-off was pricing. The 454 SS debuted at just about $18,000 in 1990, but by 93, that price had climbed well past $21,000. Compare that to a base C1500 truck at around $11,000 or $12,000, and it's clear that this was a premium product, one that not all buyers were ready to pay for. Also, at the same time, the competitive landscape was changing fast. In 1990, the 454 SS was the only game in town. However, trucks like the GMC Cyclone in 1991 and the SVT Lightning from Ford in 92 entered the ring, each offering their own take on what a performance pickup could be. If you wanted sheer speed, the Cyclone was higher tech, smaller, and considerably faster. It sacrificed utility and ruggedness compared to the 454 SS, but for the speed demons, that all-wheel drive system, that truck was pretty high tech. And the Lightning offered a more 454 SS adjacent experience. Either way, now there were more choices available, which certainly did not help the 454 SS. Now, none of these period muscle trucks were mega sales hits though. It wasn't like Ford sold 100,000 first-gen Lightnings or anything. At the end of the day, we have to be realistic. These were pretty niche products. And with like 10 miles per gallon as the expected MPG for a 454 SS, you really had to be committed to the vibe of a muscle truck and all of the sacrifices that came with owning one at this time if you wanted to have one. So there is a silver lining though. While the 454 SS was not a massive sales success, it did basically bring out the modern muscle truck era that saw the launch of the Lightning, the SRT-10 Dodges, and even trucks today like the Ram TRX and Shelby F-150s all these years later. I guess the question is though, if you had $20,000 in your pocket in 1990, would you have bought yourself one of these 454 SS's or a brand new Z28 Camaro? Because they were about the same price. Let me know in the comments down below, and as always, thank you for watching another Rare Cars video. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, it really helps me out. But otherwise, I will see you all in the next one, enthusiasts.